All right, hello, my name is Dane Frew, and here we are with episode 8 of Divorce Unplugged. As always, I'm here with Jeff. G'day, Jeff. How are you?
Hello, Dane. It's lovely to be here again.
What's been happening in the world of your online legal group?
We've had quite a busy week. We've had quite a few divorce hearings go through. So in the divorce world, we've been doing interesting service of divorce applications around the world. I had quite a few different ones this week.
Yeah, good. So we've got something different today as opposed to what we normally chat about. And you've brought something to the table, which I like. And before, we're going to sort of flip the script a little bit here. You're going to ask the questions and you're going to run with it. But before we do that, I just, in knowing, I guess, sometimes family law and divorce law people can get a bad name. There's a bad name that's attached to it, and unfortunately divorce is a reality of life, and some people need that service. And in knowing you and Maria who run your online legal group, I know that you're not out there wanting people to get divorced. You're just there to provide a safe and stress-free service for them so that they can get that done if that's what they want, and can get it done quickly and stress-free for them. So the fact that you've brought here questions to fall in love, I think, and proves that you genuinely do want people to be happy in their marriage. And I think that's really important for people to know and to understand as well, that just because you run a business that helps people get divorced, you actually don't want them to get to that point. But matter of fact is that if they are at that point, then you are there to help them. So I'm interested in these questions. What are the 36 questions to fall in love? And I'm interested to hear why you wanted to go through them and how you come across it in the first place. And we'll go through some.
That's great. Thank you for that very kind introduction as well. I think, whilst we do what we do in terms of helping people in a relationship that has come to an end, I think my take on the world is that, humans aren't necessarily solitary creatures, and relationships, be those platonic friendships or more intimate relationships, are probably the fabric of life. Being social in society is one element of that, but the development of really close connections, I think, is key to a well-lived life.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, mate, I'm going to hand it over to you now to run the show, and you can take us through how you come across this, why you think it's a valuable document, and then we'll go through some of the questions ourselves.
Well, a couple of months ago, we get together with our team once a week and we talk about interesting topics that we do pop up at the end of most of our podcasts. But one of them we spoke about was as an article called "The 36 Questions to Fall in Love: The Research Behind the Viral Experiment." And we'll put the link to the article or the 36 questions I anticipate in the show notes. We might even throw a few of them up on the screen as we go. But basically there was a series of research done. It goes way back to the 1990s by a couple, Arthur and Elaine Aaron. But the research they did was about intimate connections, and can people fall in love by asking themselves a series of questions, or become much closer by asking themselves a series of questions, even if they're in a platonic relationship. So that's where it all started. And as most research does, it sort of gets buried a little bit and published in esteemed articles and sort of then disappears from the public view. But this actually blew up back in 2015, and it was in the New York Times. An article was written in the Modern Love column that they have in that paper. And Mandy Cantron released it, and it became a bit of a phenomenon back in 2015, and here we are nearly 10 years later, and again things bubble and rise to the surface. I thought it was probably a good time to throw it back up again to say, well, this is really important work, and maybe we should explore it further.
Yeah, well, as long as we're in no danger of falling in love going through the questions, I'm happy to proceed.
Well, people talk about bromances, don't, but as much as we talk about that, I think we're more than happy we'll explore these questions and hopefully learn a little bit about each other as we go.
I'm sure we will, yeah. I'm looking forward to this.
So let's explain a little bit more. The questions are broken up into a series of 3 lots of 12 questions that people would ask each other, and the questions sort of go on to a deeper level on each set of questions, so become probably more personal in that sense. So if you were starting off, the first sets of questions you could ask each other while you're having a soft drink or a beverage or something at some stage, or if you're perhaps even meeting someone on a first date. But there are the questions that get to the second and third levels. You've got to be a little bit more careful, cautious, but we're certainly more circumspect in the timing of those questions and have an open mind at the time you sort of dive into them a little bit more. So probably worth diving into the first couple, and then I thought we'd do a few examples out of each of the lists.
Yeah, let's go. We'll do a bit of a back and forth because I'm keen to, in having a quick look at the questions now, I'm keen to hear what your answers are as well. Some of the questions are deep, so it's you're sort of thinking, how's it going to go? But I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Well, let's just jump into a nice simple one that a lot of people have been asked this question. If you were given the choice of anyone in the world whom you would want as a dinner guest, who would it be?
Mate, I would say my pop. Now, my pop on my dad's side passed away when I was 23 or 24. And I'm lucky enough now, I've got both my grandparents on my mum's side. And I probably didn't get to spend a lot of good one-on-one time with him. We still seen him a bit, but I guess now, and my grandparents come up to visit only, the other week, and it was great to sit down with them and, have a cranny with Pop and a glass of red and just talk about how he grew up and the sports he played and what he did. And it'd be great to, have a dinner with my pop, who's the other pop on my dad's side, who's passed away. Just to, he grew up on the farm, had 6 or 7 kids, I think it was. Dad's one of 6 or 7. Just to pick his brain as to how he lived and how he grew up. And I guess when you're a bit younger, you sort of take those things for granted and you don't think about that as much as what you do when you grow up. So having to reflect on that, I'd really like to have dinner with me pop.
Well, that's a very interesting answer in the sense that this is not scripted, but when I scribbled down I scribbled down 2 answers, and the first answer I actually wrote was my mum. And my mum passed away at nearly the same age. When I was about 23 or 24.
Yeah, okay.
And because she was a refugee that came here after the Second World War, and she was the last from Latvia and via Germany. And there's so much of that history that I've never been able to ask.
No.
It's too late.
No.
They're all gone.
You sort of, I guess, in a way, take it for granted in the moment, don't you? But it's something that you reflect on and think of as you get older. And there's all these, the first thing that come to my mind was all these celebrities and sports people that you love and admire and love to get to know. But I think at the end of the day, you'd come back to, we've both had similar answers, I guess.
I did. Yeah. I did scribble down Gandhi simply because he lived in a different era. It's okay to talk to. I think most current people, the Roger Federers or Arnold Schwarzeneggers of the world, you sort of know their story because you've been following it throughout your life. But if you go back to someone like that who lived in a different era and sort of had to take an entire country of hundreds of millions of people from where it was, under colonial rule to an independent country, it'd be a pretty amazing story.
Absolutely.
So I've had him on my list, but I don't.
Mum takes
precedence.
Yep.
Mum did get precedence.
Yeah, so. Fair enough.
All right. Now, the second question, interestingly, was what would constitute a perfect day for you?
I'm probably lucky enough that I'm able to do this a little bit. It'd be winter. I live on the Sunshine Coast, luckily enough, not too far from the beach. So mine would be to wake up before anyone else gets up, make myself a cup of coffee, head down to the beach alone, leave the phone at home so there's no temptation for distraction, have a swim, jump out, watch the sunrise, dry off by the sun, the warmth of the sun, and to have my coffee. And then head home. I've got 3 young kids, a 4, 7 and 9-year-old, so make brekkie for them. I think sometimes the chaos of kids that they can, that you want to spend more time by yourself, but I think that time, and people keep telling me that time goes super quick, so I love to be able to spend time with the kids. I love being able to interact and teach my kids something. So at the moment, they're really keen on wanting to know how to surf. So it would be then going down to the beach and spending a couple of hours in the water, teaching them how to surf and maybe wading through some rock pools and bits and pieces. And then maybe going home, lighting a fire, chucking a roast lamb in the Weber, having a couple of beers around the fire while the kids roast some marshmallows and having a family dinner and putting the kids going to bed with no dramas, which rarely happens, and then being able to sit around the fire, maybe with a glass of wine with the wife and having a chat.
Lovely.
I'm a pretty simple man. That's all I'd need, I reckon.
Look, I don't think my day's too much different. Swims, a bit of exercise, time with the family, whether that's my adult children or particularly with my wife. Maybe 9 holes of golf with her in the afternoon, and a meal with friends and great conversation. And as you said, a glass of red never goes astray.
So Maria's a golfer?
Yes,
Yeah?
she's become a recent golfer.
Yeah,
so
nice.
I'm hoping to have 9 holes with her at some stage later in the week.
Very good. Very good.
So I think the next question I wanted to touch on was briefly name 3 things you and your partner appear to have in common. Have you sort of had to give that some thought?
Yeah, I reckon that's pretty easy. We both love our music. We both have a good sense of adventure, and we both have really high values around family and spending time with family. So they're the 3 for me.
That's nice. Yeah. So actually, I wrote them about you, strangely enough, in my answers. I said, what do we have in common?
Me and you?
Yes,
oh, sorry. We would have music. We're probably similar. Those 3 things are probably similar.
That's it. I think love of AFL and love of self-care as well, I think, are pretty important. So, yeah. Now, the interesting question that they threw in, we'll just touch on one further question in the first set, was, do you have a secret hunch about how you will die? So I thought that was an interesting one that they've popped in there. And do you have any thoughts about that one?
No. Oh, look, without wanting to jinx myself, I can be known to be a bit clumsy and maybe do things that maybe involve a little bit more risk than others. So probably an accident of some sort through my own stupidity, potentially. But no, I definitely don't have a hunch as to how I think I might die.
All right. I'm hoping. Well, I'll come to me, but I'm hoping you're going to drive home safely.
Oh yeah. No, well, I'm usually a good driver. Yeah,
well, that's good. But no, I didn't have a hunch either. I think the family might say, well, look, your background, you might have some cardiovascular disease or something really morbid like that. But I'm not one who's sort of planning on having, as you said, suddenly something happening that that a building will fall on me. So
haven't had a dream or anything like that gives me an indication either way.
No. Exactly. So that was the first set of questions, and there are a number of others, of course, that people could dig into and wanted to be happy to talk about. But the second set of questions we might have a little bit of a look at. Let's have a look at the first question in set number 2. So if a crystal ball could tell you the truth about yourself, your life, the future, or anything else, what would you want to know?
I had to think about this one. I don't know that I'd want to know my future. I'm happy just to live it day by day and take it as it comes. I don't know if I'd want to spoil the surprise as such. So I guess maybe if there's anything else in the future I'd want to know, maybe it's the first 4 on this year's Melbourne Cup. That might be handy to know. Or what the next big investment in cryptocurrency might be, or something like that. I don't know. But from about myself or my life, I'm just happy to see what unfolds there. I don't think I'd want to know. I'd spoil the surprise.
No, that's a great answer. And I'm the other way a little bit. And only in one topic, I thought, well, I'd like to know about where my health goes. And not in a depressing, morbid sort of way to say, well, look, at 75, you're going to fall off the earth. But in some ways, it helps you sort of plan. Because if you know you've got 30 years, you can probably spread out all of those things you wanted to do. But if you know you've only got 10, well, you better start ticking off those bucket list trips to see the pyramids. So a little bit of an idea about your health. Although there's a downside, I think the upside would be at least it gives you some scope to...
But give you a bit of clarity.
It does. No
prioritise
doubt.
things.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So the second set of questions was, and I think that's, if you're looking at certainly even a personal relationship between, or a new intimate relationship, what do you value most in a friendship certainly gives you some idea about a person. What about yourself?
I think the first word that came to mind was honesty, but the overarching value would be loyalty, I reckon, because that encompasses honesty as well. Like I think having someone there that's there at the good times, there at the bad times, someone that tells you when you're going well, someone that tells you when you're not going so well, someone to laugh with and spend time with. So I think loyalty encompasses all of that. So that's probably the one main thing for mine.
That's good. That's good. I'm more ability to share thoughts, opinions without judgment is what I actually had a little note about. So you've got people, sharing of ideas is my, I value the most in a friendship. So the ability to do that.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. All right. Well, actually, I'd had that question that flowed on a little bit from the future, and I said, if you knew that in 1 year you would die suddenly, would you change anything about the way you are living now, and why?
Yeah, I would. I wouldn't work. And I think I've got a good work-life balance as it is, that I get to spend time with my wife and kids. But one thing that would always love to do is to buy a caravan and do a trek around Australia. Because, if you only had that 1 year to go, I'd like to create some long-lasting memories, not just for me when I head off, but also, for my kids and family when you're gone. So I'd do that for maybe 9 or 10 months, and then head back to country Victoria, where I'm originally from, and spend some time with mum and dad.
Yeah, I think I made the same notes. Travel and family would have to be priorities, to see some things, spend time with the ones you love, because that's and the time is up.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's have a look at our last question out of set number 2. But so we were looking at what would be a positive characteristic, or sharing a positive characteristic of your partner. Right? Would you be able to share backwards and forwards, do you think, with your lovely spouse, what that would be?
So not you.
Well, you can do me if you'd like.
No, I'll talk about my spouse. Yeah, I'd have. Well, her first one would be her energy. She just has a really good energy.
Yes.
Back and forth, or do you want me to just reel off?
No, you can just mention a few that you'd raise.
I'd say her energy. She has great empathy for other people. She's extremely kind and giving. She has a great sense of adventure, and she's very, very creative. So that would be the 5.
Wow, that's really, and it's important, I think, even before that, in a relationship, that you actually take the time to identify those things from time to time, because it reminds you about why you're with somebody in the first place.
Well, normally you're always having a crack at someone for the things they can't do, right, or the things that they don't do. So actually having to reflect on, to come up with 5 things. I don't know if Keller watches, but it was actually hard to start with. But then once you get thinking, there's a whole heap of things sort of flood in. There's a reason why you married them in the first place. There's something positive that attracted you there.
Well, that's it. My wife and her sense of humour. She has a lovely sense of humour and a wonderful smile. She's giving. She gives to the community, and she has a number of superpowers. She helps me edit things. She has an amazing ability to have insight into where people come to her with a problem, and how to bring clarity to some of those issues. So there's a when you get down to it, there's a lovely series of traits that, and probably why I've been lucky enough to be married for over 30 years. So yes, that was set number 2. But please visit. There are 8 other ones lurking in there to get in touch with. So set number 3, we get down to some. Probably more intimate ones, but also some broad ones as well. There's a simple one, for example, share with your partner an embarrassing moment in your life. So we've all had a few.
We've all had a few. There's a few that you could share. I guess mine was, Kel and I weren't married at this time. We were just together, and I was at her place, and when she was with her parents, I would have been like early 20s. We wouldn't have been together long. And I was on the toilet. And I'd finished doing my business on the toilet, and they had an old toilet. It was an older sort of toilet, and I didn't realise at the time, as I was sitting on the toilet, the pipe from where you flush that goes into the toilet had actually dislodged. So as I've gone to flush the toilet, all this water has gone pouring, not into the toilet, but pouring out, has gone all over me and out into the toilet, and then out into the hallway. And in my wisdom of panicked, because what I've just done in the toilet hadn't flushed, I pressed the flush button again. So again, all this water's flushed out, and I've flooded their hallway and their toilet, and I couldn't flush what was in the toilet because this pipe had become dislodged. So that was a baptism of fire when Cal and I hadn't been together that long, and I had to go to Cal's dad and explain what had happened and why the hallway was flooded, and why I hadn't been able to get rid of what I'd just delivered in their toilet.
Well, if you're only listening and not watching, I am smiling because after knowing you for 10 years, I've never heard that story.
Well, there's a reason why I keep it to myself.
Well, that's true.
I've probably overshared, but anyway.
Well, that's true. I did remember back in, I think it was grade 8, we were doing sexual education, and I probably hadn't had much at that stage, and we actually had to read out of the
sex or much education?
Much education.
Right.
Thank you for clarifying that as a 13-year-old. But we had to actually read out loud out of the sex education book in class. This is a mixed class, and I've mispronounced the word vagina. I'd never seen it in writing before. In fact, I don't think I'd ever said the word. And I can assure you that for the next 6 months, I was regularly reminded about that from my peers, those lovely 13 and 14-year-old males who have a capacity to enhance your embarrassment by...
How did you pronounce it?
I think I said vagina at the time. So, look, we all have embarrassing moments,
We do.
and I think it humanises us at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, yeah. Everyone messes up every now and then.
Let's not all be on pedestals all the time.
No, that's right.
Then we had a hard one. I think we might have touched on this one before yesterday even, and said, look, complete the sentence. I wish I had someone with whom I could share some ...
Yeah, because most things, I guess, if I do something or find something that I really like, I'm one to go and make sure I come and bring someone else into that. So if you find a good surf spot, you want someone else to come and experience that with you. If you do a good hike or something like that you want someone to come and experience that with you. Or you find a good pie at a bakery and taking someone else out there to experience that as well. So I tend to share a lot of good things anyway. I think I actually couldn't think of one thing that I wish I could share something with, unless you go back to that first question, whereas I wish I could share a drink with my pop who's no longer with us. There's nothing else that really pops into mind.
No, I was in a similar boat, and I think, but I think what the question does is help. If you can identify there's some things, then there's probably a gap in your life, and how do you then should reflect potentially on then, well, how do I fix that? How do I broaden my circle of friends? How do I bring people in? Do I need to, if I love sharing hiking spots, as you pointed out, do I want to join a walking club or something along those lines? So I think it's a good question to actually then reflect on in that sense.
Yeah, it is.
Now, making a dash, what's that about? So your house has just caught fire. You've saved your loved ones and pets, at least we've saved them. But you've got one final rush or dash back to save one item. What would it be and why?
I think I just grabbed my keys and my wallet so I could go for a drive and get something to eat.
Straight answer to a simple question.
Well, I thought about all the photos and wedding albums, but all those things are up in the cloud these days that are safe, I guess, from that sort of stuff. So that was the only thing. I know it's a pretty boring answer, but I'd need to go somewhere potentially, so I'd grab my car keys.
Oh, a great answer. I actually was looking at photos and heirlooms that probably predate electronica. So,
yeah.
But it did remind me to go and actually make sure that I have uploaded all of those photos.
Yeah.
Well, back in 2013, where we live, we had a significant flood, and a lot of our family, my father's and mum's heirlooms that were in a shipping container were flooded and destroyed. So that was, photographs and other personal items and stuff. So that was very sad. So it does, maybe while we're again reflecting on it, it's if you've got something important in your home, then you should make, as best you can, make sure that you've got some ability to save it or replicate it if you can. So,
yeah, it's just making sure those things that's what I went through, and being a bit younger than you, I didn't really have too many things that were apart from my loved ones that they're absolutely irreplaceable.
All right, let's finish off with one little question to finish. Let's keep and try and keep it. We'll keep it as light as we can, but it's about sharing a personal problem and asking your partner's advice on how he or she might handle it. So what would, if you've got a problem, I suppose before you answer it, or if you want to answer it, it's almost about, well, how would your other think about it, which gives you a different perspective, perhaps.
Yeah, Kel's really good at this. I would go to her with a lot of problems. She's a teacher, so particularly around, I guess, being a new parent and having the kids growing up, most of the problems you face are around parenting and how to parent. So it's more or less going to her for advice on, how do you think I should handle this, or what sort of things should I be asking? I got two daughters, and what they'll grow up and have maybe have issues that I didn't have when I was growing up as a male. So it's probably me going to her and asking her questions around how I should approach things, or how I should deal with things, and say with particular things around being a parent. And Kel's usually pretty good at giving that advice. She's female, and when it comes to the girls, and she's also a teacher, so she does that day to day. She's really good at it.
I think I reflected on it from the point of view that I'm a man in my mid-50s now, and I've always wanted to be active and healthy and fit, but my weight has crept up and up and up over a number of years, and you can get as much information as you like about doing the work to lose that weight, but you stay stuck in the same ruts and the same habits. And I spoke to my wife about this probably a number of times over the last 18 months, and we've, her sage advice and things has helped me identify that and helped me sort of curb that problem and lose a number of kilos and get my health back over the last 12 months. So it's good to get a second opinion, I have to say.
Yeah, always. Oh, that was good. So you'd recommend people sitting down with their loved one or spouse and giving those a go?
I think so. I genuinely do. What's the downside? You get to know your partner better. Is there something you might learn that would upset you? Well, there's always a risk but life's full of risks. As I said, you're a risk of falling off a ladder. You just told me.
Yeah, absolutely, I am. That's exactly, or out of a tree or something. Yep.
So that's our health topic today. Look, as I said, personal relationships on many levels as we started off talking about, is close to my heart, and it's really important to live a full life. So, get a chance to read the article. Explore it with other people. That's our recommendation for today's topic.
Yeah, no, we'll post that link to that in the notes. I'm interested if anyone does, can post on our socials to let us know how you found it too. It'd be interesting to get some other people's feedback on how they found it.
Yeah, we would love to hear from you.
Yeah.
From you out there. Thanks very much.
Thanks again. Episode 8, done and dusted. A bit of a different one, but a fun one. So thanks, Jeff, for bringing that to the table. It was great.
Very enjoyable. Thanks, Dane. We'll catch up with you next visit.
No worries. Thanks, mate.